Welcome to my channel Buzz. Pope Francis, according to the Vatican, passed away on Easter Monday at the age of 88. Outdated, depressing Vatican news, particularly after Easter Sunday, with Pope Francis's death was announced. Examination of Pope's death. Francis brings officials to his at first. The Vatican City House was everything. Appears typical given the reason of death. Been identified as heart disease, but after removing the outdated floors, a startling revelation that leaves the experienced. The investigation team is stunned by what really sits beneath the residence of Pope Francis. Come along as we reveal startling information. Pope Francis's everything is altered. Dwelling located in the center of Vatican City is far from being just a residential area that serves as a historical sanctuary. Its beginnings date back hundreds of years, and important events occurred within its walls. In the history of religion and politics, the building's long-standing history of housing dignitaries and leaders, but its age, and moreover, grandeur has given rise to numerous rumors, have conjectured that the house contains mysteries that go beyond religion. Importance of the home that has long been a sanctuary for Pope Francis, frequently characterized as enigmatic, with its historical importance and ancient design, that provides ample space for, it is a mute witness to intrigue, to the Catholic Church's development. Its walls were weighed down by the centuries of concealment, and faith power tales of hidden rooms and chambers, vaults that are closed off to the public, crammed with documents, have fueled for years. These persistent rumors concern the potential for the Vatican's secret religious writings or relics, of unthinkable worth, included to safeguard. The enigmatic contents from tumbling lost its way into the hands of the Vatican, as an institution is familiar with controversy. A lot of these operations are thought to have happened in the most hidden nooks of the Pope and Vatican Francis's complex past, which few Vatican genuinely comprehended. As time went on, these rumors persisted. Was there something underneath to build? The house no one ever ventured to examine whether the history of the Vatican is concealing even more sinister secrets. The FBI's participation in the inquiry of Pope Francis's home astounded a lot of taking into account the sacredness of the Vatican and its independent authority. However, its secret and all of its powers weren't impervious to external inspection, and in this scenario that results in a query about private details regarding the Vatican's previous interactions with these documents were reported to be hidden away in the mansion to which the artifacts are attached. Covert activities had the enigmatic data that gave priority to intense inquiry. But why would something such like this be concealed in the Vatican's walls? The conjecture began to intensify while investigators looked. The FBI inquiry changed more deeply, going from a straightforward raid to something far more. Sincerely, it wasn't merely a question of undiscovered gems or uncommon religious writings. Its goal was to uncover the truth about the Vatican had been plagued by rumors millennia after the FBI eliminated ancient flooring inside Pope Francis's home, for which nobody had been ready. What's going to happen when the old flooring was removed by agents, discovered a secret area underneath, totally isolated from the rest of? This was not merely a forgotten mansion, it was a utility room or storage area. Enigmatic room that hasn't been affected by time, seems to have been concealed for. The chamber was filled with centuries, contains a number of odd relics and documents that agents were shocked to see. Every object was carefully positioned, as if it represented a particular purpose, yet it went beyond the things alone. Particularly astounded the FBI officers was, the information found in the old manuscripts appeared to allude to historical occurrences that had remained hidden from the public, and the mysterious symbols that didn't correspond any historical or religious work that is known. Some thought these might be hints of a far greater mystery that included the FBI agents' deepest secrets about the Vatican. Stood in startled silence, attempting to analyze the information they had discovered. Finding the secret area beneath Pope Francis's estate immediately caused a flurry of conjecture about what had been discovered. May these records disclose something genuinely revolutionary regarding the history of the Vatican, or visited? There's something worse going on. One of the hypotheses that are most frequently discussed focused on the potentiality that the hidden objects were connected to the Church's hierarchy, which had been repressed and concealed for a while. Believed that there were lengthy missing Templar Knights documents, covert religious organizations, or other clandestine groups that functioned behind the historical scenes, involving these groups, infamous for being secretive and accused of impact on global affairs, were said to have had a long-lasting influence on the growth of, could the Vatican be concealing Christianity? Evidence of their participation in another. According to hypothesis, the document included private data regarding, perhaps the Vatican's financial transactions, documents of transactions, gifts, or connections with governments around the world that was never disclosed to the public. Though the Vatican has historically been a strong financial organization, and several questioned its methods over time. Was this space a storehouse of money, confidential documents that were concealed away to avoid controversy or lawsuit consequences? Then there were people who felt that the records included shocking disclosures regarding the political involvement of the Vatican during history. Some cited reports of secret activities and agreements with the world authorities, such as governments and kings, to have an impact on world politics. If these hypotheses were accurate, then the objects discovered beneath the home of Pope Francis might be connected to a long-forgotten past, including political espionage, international influence, and maneuvering. However, the most startling prospect of all was the notion that the space included proof of covert religious activities or convictions held by the Vatican purposefully hidden. Was there an alternative to the secret doctrine of faith, Christianity's past, that had been prevented from becoming known for centuries? Could these relics disclose a reality that would tremble the underlying Vatican's response to the church finding? The secret area underneath. The residence of Pope Francis has been one of cautious quiet, as word spreads about the FBI's conclusions that were widely disseminated by the Vatican issued only a succinct cryptic declaration that neither verified or refuted the existence of the secret chamber, rather of opting to keep quiet about the situation. This response simply served to increase conjecture and mistrust, as many questioned why the Vatican didn't seem to want to speak up regarding what had already been discovered. The Vatican has upheld a rigorous policy of confidentiality pertaining to specific concerns, particularly in relation to its internal operations, financial transactions, and in many respects, historical archives. The Vatican's response was nothing new, renowned for its discretion for a long time, especially with regard to delicate problems that can possibly result in public indignation or undercut its. This kind of secrecy's authority frequently been a source of conflict for external parties who think the Church ought to be more open and honest with its supporters and the general audience. But there were also numerous who in the Vatican noticed this quiet as a conscious action to safeguard something far more significant than a simple historical finding that could discovered underneath the floors, so contentious or harmful that the Vatican decided to conceal the truth of exposing it in light of the history of the Church's control regarding its story and portrayal. Some believed that making the results public can perhaps lead to widespread. Perhaps the controversy even posed a threat to the fundamental basis of the Church's authority, and sway some insiders' opinions suggested to the media, anonymously, that the Vatican was already acting to examine the room's contents in silence, possibly with the goal of figuring out the best way to deal with what it discovered. Some even propose that the Vatican may decide to retain their results that are hidden and locked away from the same public they had been for centuries. One thing was evident. The Vatican was handling the situation using the absolute earnestness in private church officials probably discussed the next, carefully considers what might be the possible consequences if the hidden records were made public. Would they reveal the Vatican's secret stride for ages to safeguard the Vatican's strict oversight of the scenario? Made many people question if this finding would ever be completely disclosed to the general public, or whether it would just disappear into Vatican history. History as the inquiry into the question was compounded by the finding on many was whether there was any illegal behavior had participated. After all of the FBI's participation indicated something further more than a normal historical discovery. Why was the Vatican's strict control over these things, and if any part they played in the role of the Pope and Church authorities in the hiding of this obscure past? Some critics raised the potential that the secret room might represent proof of and deliberate concealment. They contended that the Vatican may have purposefully kept some records or artifacts hidden, because they included details that might damage the Church's standing, particularly in view of current scandals about sexual abuse in the priesthood and the monetary transactions of the Could the room have been a Vatican bank? A location to conceal unpleasant facts that if released to the public it would contest the. Others questioned the moral authority of the Vatican. More conspiracy theory implying that Vatican secrecy could be connected to a much more extensive and potent agenda these. According to theorists, the Vatican, in an attempt to safeguard its worldwide influence, could have aimed to maintain specific facets of its past out of the public's attention, possibly to preserve the political and economic dominance of the Church. Was the secret chamber merely a single component of a much more complex secret puzzle interactions? With global forces in the religion orders and powerful individuals at the. Some protected the Vatican at the same time, asserting that the confidentiality of the secret room was only an addition of the Church's intention to safeguard its holy past and spiritual purpose. In the Vatican's silence in this regard was a method to protect the integrity of the Church's heritage, and to stay away from the type of sensationalism that frequently envelops prominent controversies. The artifacts and records discovered beneath the mansion's floor might have been a component of the Church's efforts to maintain historical and religious knowledge records to avoid hiding anything evil in spite of these disparate perspectives on the dispute surrounding. Serious questions were raised by the concealed room regarding openness, confidentiality, and the function of the Vatican in contemporary times. The finding appeared to mirror the larger conflicts inside the Catholic Church's battle to make sense of its ancient customs with the requirements of a contemporary, doubting. The world's ability to Vatican silence was a purposeful tree to hide something, or just an attempt to safeguard its spiritual. The controversy's sole purpose was to intensify the suspense and mystery pertaining to the finding when information of the contents of the secret room were destroyed. It was not long before the globe community to respond to individuals from all around the globe, from the pious religious to people who are very interested in historical events and the emergence of conspiracy theories, to express their views on social media platforms erupted in conjecture, with users sharing hypotheses around what the Vatican was concealing and what the finding could have implications for the future of. For many Catholics, the Church is. Some were shocked by the discovery, with interest and a desire to discover more about the Vatican's dark mysteries and its part in determining the trajectory of others, however, felt deceived by the mystery surrounding the reason why the Church had decided to retain such significant knowledge that had been kept secret for a long time. A noticeable feeling of disappointment among a few pious people as they pondered the notion that the Vatican may be hiding information about it. In the meanwhile, people who are interested in conspiracy theories viewed the finding as validation of their long-held convictions. For many years, there had been rumors regarding the Vatican's covert role organizations, secret information, and secret negotiations with global powers. To these people, the finding of the secret room seemed like the beginning of the iceberg, an insight into a realm of wonder and fascination that had before behind closed doors. Politicians and international leaders also noted the discovery, with many acknowledging the possible effects of the disclosures might impact relations with other countries if sensitive information was buried in the documents. Details regarding the activities of the Vatican with foreign governments or influencers figures. It might change the equilibrium of the Catholic Church's authority and its global political influence. Some conjectured that specific governments may already be taking action to protect their own interests in the hopes of succeeding of any possible repercussions. The media as well turned into a battlefield, with a variety of media competing to provide the most spectacular and news stories with dramatic headlines. Organizations emphasized the mystery, fueling the speculative fire with headlines such as "Vatican exposed" or "Startling revelations discovered beneath Pope's mansion." Some adopted a more circumspect strategy, requiring cautious thoughtfulness and an exhaustive research before rushing to conclusions. Yet everyone's one thing could concur was that the finding had captured the interest of the entire world. If it was for the possibility scandals that might disclose the historical meaning it could have, or just the fascination with what had been concealed. The world watched for a long time with breathless anticipation of what would occur next as the inquiry advances. One of the most important questions. Still, what comes next? Will the Vatican make the contents of the concealed space from the general public, or will the Church is still keeping quiet and safeguard the hidden mysteries beneath? The result at Pope Francis' home could have significant ramifications for the For the Catholic Church, the Vatican, the entire planet, the Vatican's next actions will probably be impacted by a blend of external and internal intrinsic elements that the Church may determine that the moment has arrived to deal with the conclusions directly, either by providing a public justification or the publication of specific documents to the general public, which may be entry to allay escalating fears and dissatisfaction among the devout, while concurrently controlling the potential, possible consequences of the discovery. The Vatican may decide to retain Thersalts under wraps, utilizing its might, the power to stop additional external scrutiny, the pressure from the international community, which includes the public, media, and governments, could demand that the Vatican adopt a more open and honest approach to the churches. Withholding information could raise suspicions, which will lead to conduct additional public probes, demonstrations, or even demands for responsibility. The Vatican's function in the topic of the modern world has previously been covered, of discussion, and the identification of the hidden area might only make those talks. Eventually, the next few months could be crucial in figuring out how the Vatican responds to this historic discovery. Will it mark a sea change for the Church, resulting in increased openness and responsibility, or will it be hidden under layers of secrecy? Again, regardless of the result, there is no doubt that the identification of the concealed chamber beneath Pope Francis's mansion's influence has already been felt on. The world will be witnessing history closely as the Vatican makes decisions about what to do next and whether the mystery is never solved and the truth is always disclosed about the secrets of the mansion will probably continue for many years to come. What do you believe, that this was all a part of a well-planned secret, or is there something far worse is at work? Post your opinions in the comments section, and if you enjoy the film, please remember to, for more updates, like and subscribe.